Taoist Magic Talk Show brought to you by Taoist Master G Sifu and King Dragon Taoism. Purang Tenjun. Welcome back to the show. This is your Z Sifu right here again, and today we got some big topics. So after our previous episode, we got some commenters and people emailing me about like what they want to know, and I think that it's it's a lot of stuff, but and a lot of stuff I cannot really say 100%. Like I cannot reveal 100% because some of them are not supposed to be known. But today we got to do a show and answer these things. So let's try my best and get you guys going. The first one is how did mankind like us came here? Like what is Taoism's view of how the world and everything was created? So I am doing a podcast. I cannot really draw to let you know how it looks like. So I'm trying to explain it in a way that requires some of your imagination. Okay. And first of all, there's a difference between a person learning Taoism from, let's say, books or a traditional sect that is based on books versus my way, because I also came from the like background of learning from traditional sects. When well, a little bit of like about me here. Okay, so my Taoism journey started when I was 4, and I went through different sects and learned from different masters, and well, eventually here I am. Okay, so I am now about 40, and I'm running my lineage here, and I'm not belonging to the other sects that I was in before. So why is that so? It's because of some special encounters. And well, long story short, like very simply said, I have my own source that actually teach me stuff and pass on the stuff to me. And those are not human. So I advanced from where I was. Okay, I go beyond where I was. So instead of learning from like dead books, like a source that is already dead, like books don't change, right? So if you learn from a sect and the sect is like, all based on the old books, the books don't change. What if the books is wrong, right? That's one of the biggest thing I have in mind when I was young. Like, you guys believe this thing so much, but what if it is wrong? How can you be so sure that this person who wrote the book didn't make a mistake when they died? Like many people wrote books, and then after a few years you look at your book and you want to like edit it, right? It's not perfect, right? So how can we be sure? How can we be so sure? Well, no one can answer me this question until I got in contact and encounter with my uppers who are teaching me right now. So I know what you guys like are looking at out there, how the traditional Taoism view of how the world is formed. So I'm not talking about that here. If you want to listen to that kind of stuff, you can go other places where people, kind of preach from the books. Like they tell you what the books say, okay? That's what it is about. But to me here, it's not like that. Like I'm not saying who is right or wrong, but I'm telling you that this is not what I believe and not what I teaches right here in my lineage. So what I teach right here is based on my own experience and what my uppers have been teaching me. And I also have a lot of questions myself about like, oh, how did the world like came here? How did human, came here? And how does this thing, like that, right? So I asked, and I don't know how to start telling you the whole thing. It's very complex. So I'm trying to like just tell you a bit here, a bit there, and if you guys have anything you want to know, you can ask me again in the comment section. Maybe we can clear that up. Okay, so here we go. I'm just gonna start by telling you some stuff that I have asked and the answer that I have gotten. Okay, so makes sense. Like that's what I am curious about. Okay, first of all, I asked them, like my uppers, I asked them, so how did human came to this world? Like what? How did we just started here? You know, what were we like before human was a human being? You know, like did we like you know, like the science they say we were once like monkeys, ape, and whatever, right? And then we kind of change and transform, and over time we become mankind like this. So we are like monkeys before, right? And well, my upper said, no, that's not how it is. You know, we like you raise monkey for hundreds of years, and monkeys are still monkeys; they don't change. So I was like, so how did human came to here? They said human were human when they were here, like when they were starting off here. It's like you're human already, and I was like, well, how? Like, how did we come to this form, this shape? They said, well, it's very simple. The answer is very simple. You were once liquid. So I was like, huh? Yeah, like imagine in the ocean, right? You have water, and there are different kinds of liquids. Who knows what that is, right? You have some kind of liquids around, and then eventually the liquid became like sperm, you know, and then it just got into the ground, and then you're born, and boom, there you go, you have human. And it started like that, and I was like, huh? But there's like, you need a mother to have the place to put the sperm. And well, they say, you know, back in the old days when the whole place was different, right? You cannot imagine it because it's like that time period, everything is different. The whole environment, the elements, and everything is different. You cannot measure from this time period where everything changed already, right? It's like you look at the building, someone built in like a tall building, skyscraper, right? You look at the skyscraper, you cannot imagine how it looks like before it was even built, right? You cannot imagine like the soil, the area around it. You cannot imagine. It's like you're not in that time. You cannot imagine it. It's not something you can imagine. But it's like the sperm don't need, like you can call it sperm, but it's not sperm. It's something, okay? Something goes into the ground, and the ground can give birth to living beings like that. It was like, okay, well, that's the answer, right? So you cannot really prove it because it's not something that you can do right now. And it's like you don't have the elements. You don't have the elements back then, and the world is not the same. You cannot reproduce it. It's not science, right? So I just asked based on my curiosity, and I just want to, get an answer. Then that's what I got. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, yeah. And then they told me, like, you don't have to tell anyone this. Like, this is not something normal people need to know because it doesn't affect how they do with their Taoist cultivation. It doesn't affect their magic learning and whatever things, right? So it's like it really have nothing to do with you, It's history. It's gone already. Even it doesn't do anything. So it's something that I asked, and it's like, you want to believe, then you believe. You don't want to believe, that's fine, like that. So I was like, okay. So I asked another question. I was like, so how did the world came to here? Like, how does this world happen to like be here like that? And are there like other worlds like ours, like alien, like that? And the answer is yes, there are other worlds and there are aliens. So one thing is you gotta go like now we're going to go back in time. Uh, so when it first started, I asked, when everything first started, how did everything like get born? Science say, oh, Big Bang theory, and then whatever, right? What does what does it happen here? Like, how did it actually happen to be, like that? And then they say, well, you think about it this way. In this world, we start from nothing and then we slowly have something, right? So you start from zero and then you have more. In the pre-heaven, like in their dimension, it's actually the reverse. You start with having everything at the first place, and then you just slowly break down, and break down, and eventually you have less and less. So in that, like the most original or most the initial starting point of time, okay, it already has everything. Like there's already everything in there. And then it's like it just flashes. Like from what they say is like it's a flash of light, and then it started. A flash of light, bam, and then it started. And then it's not a big bang. It's not a bang. It's a flash of light. They very specifically say it's like lightning, like flash of light, but there's no there's no bang sound. Okay, so there's a flash of light, like how the flash from a camera, like that kind of flash, and then there you go. In this world, they say like in this world, it's also like that, a flash of light, and then you have a lot of ingredients transfer to this world, and there goes like new species, new plants, and things like that. It transmitted in the form of light, and light flashes and then make things happen here. In like the more original or ancient, their world, right? The first place that it started, a flash of light, and then the whole world is there already. Okay, and they don't start from nothing to building up. They already have everything. It's like you already have like all the stuff in the world, and then you start to live a life and you break down and discover things. Okay, like there are already elements and you start discovering. So in their world, we call 大羅天. Okay, 大羅天, their world. They say, well, there's like the system, the structure of their world. So you can imagine right now, right? There's a ball of light, like the sun, a ball of light. In the middle, okay, in the middle, this ball of light is the main world. When you see it from the outside, it's a ball of light. When you go inside that ball of light and you see the world, so you're like inside an actual place, a world that you can live. And people there, they live there. So that ball of light, right? Now imagine the top, there's like another structure, another system. It's like a bell that is upside down, okay? Like a bowl, right? Upside down. And that part we call the Teen Law. That is like the sky system. It's like a funnel. It mixes stuff, and then when the elements are mixed enough, it falls down to the main world. Like here, we have clouds and everything, right? And then when from time to time it rains, it's kind of similar. And then there's another structure below it, below the main world. We call it the law, the ground system. That system is like the whole bell system in there. There are different layers, and different layers are born one after another over time. So it's kind of like, it's like a bell, but there's like many bells. So it goes from like big and then to smaller and then goes in the inside. There's a few main layers that we can talk about. One layer, the first layer, we call the sun law. That part, human being call them, refer them mostly to the celestial realm. That is not where my uppers are. This is like where like most people, when they call their gods, those gods are usually in this dimension. And then when you go down a bit, there's the Ling Law. Ling Law is like this layer has a lot of um, we call that like it's kind of like a nature garbage zone. It has a lot of scary shit there, a lot of alien looking creatures and a lot of bad scary stuff right there. Okay, and then below that there's a Zhong Law, which is a world of like um, many worlds inside there, including ours. Okay, there are like other worlds as well that have living beings, and we are one of them inside. So these layers right there, they're like just a main, category right there. Okay, so how did these different layers form? It's because the main world operates, and then over time, things dies from that world, like some stuff ended and died, and then it goes downward. When it goes downward, it jets down and then form the different things below it. In a way, you can say everything below it is kind of like a replay of what happened in the main world. You can think about this way. We have, let's say, we have cell phone, right? Actually, in their main world, cell phone is like ancient stuff, like they had it long time ago. We just kind of replay or redo what they have done before. So that's one eye-opening thing, because like to me, I was like, in the past, we always thought, like the gods are like all in the ancient vibe, like the Chinese traditional stuff, everything looked very ancient, right? And then turn out that, well, yeah, it's ancient, but doesn't mean that they don't advance, right? So they also advance, and they have advanced, more advanced than us by far. So it's like, you guys are still using like this kind of computer? Oh my God. Like, we already have like, that is like our ancient history already, It's like that. So whatever happened there, it turns into many versions of the same history going downward. So it's kind of funny because it's like, for example, right, in the main world, there's like one thing that happened. Let's say a fox have stolen food from a bunch of pigs. Okay, that's like a story, right? And then when it goes down, this history goes down to the different layers and different worlds. It will be replayed again in many different versions, different form of the same pattern. And then eventually, in one of the world like ours, we have, maybe something that represents the history of this happen again. So it's kind of hard to understand because it's very complex. You cannot really like use a formula to decode everything. But the general idea is like, whatever happened here, it was like one's history up there. Okay. So I was asking them like, so what's the point of life? Like, why are you guys there, and what do you guys do? Right? I mean, like, we all know, okay, wow, there are like those gods and upper beings, right? So what do they do? Why are you here? Why are you finding me and such like that? So they say, in their main world, the Dai Lo Tin, right? The thing is, they have one thing which they call Tin Ming. Tin Ming is like what you're born to do, like a job or something like a mission that you're born with. Right? I don't know the exact English word, but something like that. So, yeah, like you're born for a purpose, and they say everyone in that world has a purpose. They are born with a purpose, and some of them they don't. Some of them they don't like it, like they don't want to go with it, so they want to change it, and they try to do something else. It's like, you know what? You are born to be, you're born to be garbage disposal manager or something like that, right? So you don't like that job, and you're like, no, I want to be a technician, and then you go study, and you want to change your life, and so like that. There are people like that, and eventually they will go back to the main mission again, because it's like whatever you do, it's just another way for you to witness that this is not your way. And eventually you'll go back to what you're supposed to do and you have no choice. But you just need to go through the different bumps to let yourself know that, oh, I'm not fit. Like, how come it's so hard doing this? And then you go back to what you're supposed to do, then it becomes much easier. Like, you can actually success much with less effort because you're meant to be doing that, and you have the talent to do that, right? Everyone has a special talent for doing what they're supposed to do. And I'm not talking about special talent like, you know what, your eyes can like look through the wall, that kind of special talent. I'm just talking about like, like human. You are good at something and you're good at something, like that kind of special talent, right? Maybe you're better or faster at thinking about legal documents and you're like faster in, doing this kind of handy stuff, right? So that kind of special talent. And so everyone there has their mission that they're supposed to do, what their like job is, and so everyone knows what they have to do anyway. And one thing is the whole world's main goal or purpose is to keep creating things. So kind of like human, they say, like, yeah, it's very like human. They keep discovering things, like bringing up new discoveries and then make it happen, right? Oh, one thing that you don't understand is because in their world, they have what I call a complete life. What do I mean by complete life is that right here, human is actually not so complete. Well, if you're complete, you have 24 hours. You are not complete because you gotta sleep. When you're asleep, you black out, right? And you're like doing other things. So in there, they don't need to sleep. That's the thing. You don't sleep. I was like, do you get tired? Yeah, they do get tired. So what happened when you get tired? When you get tired, they go into like what you would call a sleep state, but it's not sleeping. They go into another dimension. And the other dimension is like, okay, let me explain the dimension first, okay? There are 3 dimensions, main dimension, okay? Many other dimensions out there, but 3 main ones, okay? We code them like D1, D6, and D8. D8, is like physical, like here, right? Physical dimension. D6 is like spiritual dimension, but it's not like spiritual as in like, oh, just imagine whatever, right? It's not. It's more like you're in a dream, but the dream is so real and is totally interactive, and you can actually see other people inside that same space. But here you don't do that. Like, you go into a dream, your mom gets into a dream, your brother gets into a dream, you don't see each other, right? You don't interact. It's not like you can go into the same world, but there you can. That's what's so different, okay? So when you actually go to quote sleep, you go into the other dimension, which we call D6. And in the D6, that dimension, everyone is kind of like, kind of like a ghost, right? But you're like in the same world with each other. So in equivalent, like how we demonstrated is here, we have the internet world, right? So it's like you see each other in an other form, but it's kind of like you don't see each other in like real person, but everything that happened in the virtual reality or virtual world affects the reality. So imagine in D6, you built a company, and then you got sued by other people, right? Then it doesn't mean that in D8, when you wake up, everything is gone. Someone will come and like catch you, right? If you have whatever problem. So it's linked up. Like 2 worlds, D6, D8, they're linked, okay? And then when they get tired in D6, they go to sleep in D6, like sleep mode, and then they are active again in the physical dimension, the D8. So it's basically like hourglass. You use up the energy from the top, it goes to the bottom, and then you flip, and then you keep using it, right? So as long as you keep doing whatever you're supposed to do, you work between the two worlds, you're good. Now, there's also one more that I haven't talked about, which is what we call the D1. D1 in Chinese we call it 真元空間. Is like that's their pre-heaven, and in that world, time is not time doesn't exist. There's no time in that world. So you go there, you can do anything, but like everything still moves, but there's no time there. Like you can do a lot of stuff, and then you come back to D6 and D8, and the time is the same. So that's one thing that is very different, and they can go to that dimension and enter their own Yun San. And the funny thing is here, everyone, like human being, you contact with your Yun San when you sleep, your spiritual planetary body, your own planet. You contact it when you sleep, but you don't know about it. Like it's done automatically, but you don't know. It's kind of like your organ, right? You eat, the organ does its own thing, but you don't know what's going on. It just happened on its own, right? There, it's not like that. Everyone, like even a baby right there, can understand and know that they have a Yun San, and they will be able to go to the Yun San whenever they want. So if you, like, for example, you're thinking about something and you need to, like, I just need a short period to kind of lock myself somewhere and then, do something, you can go to the D1 and you have like somewhere to go into and do whatever you need, and then you can come back. And time doesn't change. You just go back there, right? And so you can be like working for 3 months in the Yun San, and you come back out and time is still like that, right? It's just like, oh, it's only 5 minutes, like that. So time is nothing to them. But the thing is, in D6, it's kind of like in a dream. You can think about or imagine anything, and you can create it with your soul energy. So it's like magical, right? It's like a fantasy. You can create things like easily, and you can fly. You can do a lot of crazy things that you cannot do in the reality. It's kind of like in a dream, right? But there's one thing. If you are addicted in the D6, you won't want to come back to D8. Your body will rot. Your body gets sick. Like here, you sleep all the time, you get sick, right? And then you will die right here. So yeah, there are people who they fail and then they die because of this. So if you're healthy, you go between like D6, D8, sometimes D1, and you just keep, doing what you're supposed to do, and that's basically what they're doing. And in the D6, they try to like create something, and then later on, they try to make that thing in reality in the physical D8 as well. For example, someone invented a machine that flies around and looks very, very cool. Then in D8, someone later on might have to find the materials to build it. Well, just like how we do, we make movies and games and things like that, and then we have special effects, right? Back then, when I was a kid, there's like this superhero from Japan, and that guy has a watch, and you can talk through the watch, and then like people call for help, and you can respond through the watch, and it looks really cool, right? Well, now we have smartwatch. We actually made it, so you can talk through the watch as well with the smartwatch. So same idea, right? Now there is the same, but instead of like how we do it here, because we are like one version demonstrating the whole history, right? Right there, it's like that too. In the D6, people invent and do things, and then wow, so many crazy shit happen. You created this machine, you created that weapon. Well, in D8 later on, people want to make it, and then their job is to like keep discovering new ideas and then make them and then make them and then keep improving, expanding, and as they live, they are helping the whole system to keep operating and expanding and so on. Now, whatever is history there becomes a form of energy, and it flows down to the bottom where we call it the law, right? The ground system, and then it goes to the different worlds, and then it affects the other worlds there to also have those things as well. Now, when things in the bottom system dies, ultimately, like when they like finally go to the last stage, they will return back to nature's like most raw energy form, and they will float back up to where they call the teen law, the sky system, and then it spins and mixes and then becomes something and goes back to the main world, and then it rains to the main world. It becomes like the energy that fuels the whole world to move again. So basically it's a non-stop loop. It's a cycle like that. So that's how their world looks like, and that's how it is with like how they are related to us. But the thing is, like, not not anyone can just like contact them or know about them or things like that. It's not like, it's not something you can just make contact with, right? So why did I have have the chance to be in contact with them? Well, there's a big story behind. The long story short, I was going through a spiritual journey and also a battle, and I got saved by someone there. So because of that, they guided me to that world, and eventually I got whatever I have right now. So anyway, that's another big topic. Okay, I'm going to talk about that maybe in the future. But so that's how it is like. Okay, so again, the answer of how everything started, not Big Bang theory, and definitely it doesn't start from nothing. So they say it started from a flash. Flash of light, and then everything is there already, and that's how it was. So yeah, and then they keep doing what they have to do, and that's how it is. So now I want to dig into another thing, another subject: one God versus many God. Like a lot of people say, oh, my religion only believe in one God, and then some believes in a lot of gods and some deities. So what about us? Well, definitely, you see, we have a lot of gods, right? Like gods, as in like, things, the higher power that you ask for help from, right? So there are a lot of gods, but what about the one God theory? Like, what do you believe in and so on? Well, first of all, I got to clarify. The gods are not the same as the people living in that main world that I was like talking about. It's not the same thing, okay? You do not pray to or talk to the people in the other world and ask them for help. They are not responsible for that. Okay, it's not like that. So let me explain how it all started. Okay, so for us here in our lineage, we got saved by someone over there in that world, right? That someone only have contact with us, like me and my wife and so on, right? So that's it. And then that's like basically it. And they guided us and teach us and give us the knowledge and powers and all that. And then afterward, you know what? They have to, like, not everyone under us, like the human being under us, can contact them or get help from them. So they gave us like what we call now a celestial court. It's like a middle, like a station that is in between the way of like them and us here, our world and their world in the middle. So there's like this special thing that is created and granted to us. The celestial court is kind of like a space that is created by them. And they put stuff in there while we can also put stuff up there. Okay, so it's like, it's like a server or hard drive. They can put stuff in, we can put stuff in, like that. And whenever they have to give us stuff, they put it in there, and then we can get it from there. You get the idea, right? It's like a middle ground. So the celestial court is like something that is created by them for us. And we also have to invest and upkeep it as well. The celestial court is actually the main source of power where everyone in the lineage get the power from. When you do magic, right? Everything goes from there, not from the other worlds, not from the Dialotine, okay? Yeah, it is from, but you don't get it from there. You get it from the celestial court. And in the celestial court, there are the gods. Okay, there are the gods that actually you will be asking help from or getting their powers and so on. That's where the god are. Okay, now, however, it's first started with one god only. So if you ask, are we like the one God only kind of thing? Well, yeah, it started with one God. Okay, it does start with one, and that is what we call Sam Lo Zhou Si. Okay, Sam Lo Zhou Si is our main God. It's only one God from the beginning, and then, well, everything else is like, imagine the main God Sam Lo Zhou Si is flour. Everything else is made from flour. So you take flour and you make like bread, you make like noodles, pasta, whatever other things, and it's shaped into other things. Maybe it will mix with different flavor, different color, different shape, different ways of cooking it, and then it becomes different things. Even you make like dumpling skin or whatever, right? It turns into different final product, right? And that's how the other gods are created. So you might ask, well, if you have one God that is like so powerful, why do you need the other gods? Well, it's so simple, because it's like this. The God is powerful. It has a lot of potential in there, right? That's right. But if you want the God to be doing specific things for you, then it needs that specific profile. Like you are powerful, you're smart, but now I need you to become like a diver. You have to dive into the ocean. Then I need to give you the outfit. You need to dress up like a diver, and I give you the gear, the oxygen tank and all that. Then you can dive. Now I need you to be a military guy and go and fight in the war. I need to give you a gun. I need to give you the armor and bullets, all that stuff. Then you can fight, right? Now I want you to be a chef. Well, you're powerful. You're going to be a chef. Yeah. Now I need to give you the kitchen, the tools, and then the outfit that you need. You cannot just dress up like a diver and then start cooking, right? So you see, you is still the same you, but the different profile that I gave you will turn you into a different you, right? So you have the main God, but you need that God to be a different specialist because of the different needs. Then that main God will clone himself and then become a new God. And eventually you treat them like new gods, but it is all from the same one God that it all started with. So in our lineage, we have a few gods to start with. We call them the 9 main gods. The first one, of course, Sam Lo Zhou Si is our main God. And then we have the Tien Lo Zhou Si, Dei Lo Zhou Si, Dai Lo Zhou Si, Shen Long Zhou Si. These are like main God to start with. And then there's like Gam Long Xin Si, Ji Long Xin Si, Wu Lei Xin Si, Ba Hok Xin Si. These are also coming from the same God. They're like made from the same thing, right? But they're different profiles. They have different purpose. They have different powers. So once you know about their powers, their specialties, then when you need help, you know who to ask help from, right? Let's say like this, okay? If you're like, maybe you're like in a Christian or whatever, right? You have like one God. Now you take your God, okay? Let's say, for example, right? You take your God statue, the look, right? Like a Jesus statue. And then you dress him up in different ways, Like here's now a fireman. He dressed up like a policeman. He dressed up like a chef. He dressed up like a engineer, like different outfit, right? And then you put it on your shelf and you see, wow, there's so many Jesus, but they're different. They're like now different profile, right? You see, that's the idea of the creation of God. There's one thing that we always say in the lineage. The God creates the future for human, but human create the God. We create God. We create and we cultivate the gods. So God, like the God that you actually work with the magic and all that, are not like those beings in the world that we contact with. It's actually like they taught us the way to create the God after they have given us the starter one. Okay, then whenever you need, you can create one. For example, right now we don't have a God for like being a dentist. You're a dentist, you might want a dentist God, right? And then you can create one by using the method, using the same, like the original one, and then you create one out of that. You use that power to create one, right? Maybe you're like a policeman. Oh, we don't have a police God yet. You can create one, right? And whenever like you have a certain need and we don't have that profile, you can create a God out of it. So it's like the way of creating the gods. Now, creating a God is easy, right? But how to grow and cultivate it, that's another thing. A lot of people started a God, but they don't cultivate it. And then eventually the God dies. Okay? So it is okay to create, but it still require your input to cultivate and make it grow. So you can also say gods are like, they are born partially from your heart power, okay, because of your faith, heart power, your belief power, right? And partially is because you have got to have the seed, like that initial God that is given from the uppers, that is in the other world. They gave us the starter element. You use that element and mix it into your, like with your heart power, and then using their method to cultivate it, you got a new God. Now, to cultivate the God, you have to invest your faith into it by action. Like every day, for example, every day you go to the altar and you burn incense, give offerings, and so on, right? You believe, like you're showing, demonstrating that I believe in this God. You start talking to the God, and then you have to start asking the God for help. And then you see whatever happened, you acknowledge that the God have helped you. You go back and thank the God and interact with the God like that back and forth. And you start talking to it. And eventually the God and you will have a heart-to-heart relationship built. Over time, the more you use the God, the more the God have like experience, the stronger the God gets. That's the cultivation of the gods. You cultivate the God like that, okay, by interacting, building a relationship, and letting your God do stuff, right? And then it comes back, give you results, and now you know, oh yeah, it's getting better. If the God is doing their job, but it's not as good as you wanted, or maybe they did the wrong thing, you have to give feedback. You have to learn how to tell them, this is not what I want, I would like to be more like this next time, and so on. Then next time they can help you better, right? So that's how you can create and cultivate a God. Creating a God is easy, right? But the thing is, to cultivate one is not. It requires a lot of effort, consistent output of faith through demonstrated through action. So it's not easy. So we started with 9 main deities in our lineage. Then these are actually all cultivated already from the other side of the world. You know, the other people in the other world, they cultivated these profiles and such, and they put the cultivated God into the celestial court for us to start us off. And then there are other gods that we also created, based on, like, you know, what we learn and what we need and so on, like the encounters in the lineage. And there goes some new gods, and then we have to cultivate those new gods as well. There are times that, you know, I have witnessed some people created a God and then they don't cultivate it. And eventually the God actually died and it's like no use anymore. And if you want to like have that God, you need to create it again. That can happen. Okay. So yeah, that's that's how the God works. So you can say we believe in many gods, or we can also say we believe in one God. Both works. Okay. One more thing at the end is about longevity, like how people want to live for a long time, that kind of thing. To us, based on the teachings I have gotten from my uppers, it is a waste of time to think about living longer and longer right here in this life. It is not a waste of time to think about how to improve your health. Like you should live and have a good life, right? Good health. So you should take care of yourself, eat well, sleep well, and so on, right? So you can have a good quality of time here. Now, however, how long you could live, that is not in your hand, like not for you to control. So if you cannot live as long, too bad. If you can live long, well, make it nice and happy, right? We don't want to be like, one day you're like 250 years old, and then you look in the mirror and you look like a zombie. you know, every day you look into the mirror and it's like a scary movie, right? Like horror movie. You scare yourself, so scary. And then all your friends are gone. Your mind is still like in the era where you're supposed to be, and everyone has changed already, and you feel you're like kind of out of this world. It's so weird, right? So to us, living long doesn't really matter. Living with a quality life matters. No, we talk about that, right? And another thing is, how about the gods? What about them? Well, the people who I got in contact with, which I call the San Jun, the Lord of the gods, okay? So they are the gods, the ultimate ones up there. So I asked them, so how long do you guys live, right? So they say, oh, they live a long time because they don't die of age. So to them, like in their world, people live a long time, like way longer than human beings. I'm talking about like many, many millions, okay? Millions of years, like they don't die like that. There's no age problem, like you don't age. People grow to a mature stage and they look like how we are like 30-ish, 40-ish, that kind of look. And that's it. You stop right there. You don't get old. So it was so nice, right? Yeah. In their world, it's like they have good health care and things like that. They don't die from aging. But then the thing is, you can still die. Like if someone shoot you with a gun or, like bomb you or whatever, right? Or someone just pass on a virus to you and you cannot cure it, well, you can still die from that. So there's many things that can cause death, but not age. So you see the problem, like, yeah, like in theory, you have no age restriction. You don't get old. But at the same time, you can die when you're like only 12 because someone shot you, right? You can still die from other reasons, but you don't age. So that's what their world is. And they say the average right there is like they live a long time. The time is like, you cannot imagine. Like a human being cannot imagine how long it is like that. It's like a long time. But it's naturally done, and it's not like they want to. It's like, it's just how their life is like. They don't die, and they keep going, and so on like that. And because of that, their world is like very peaceful and very developed because everyone is like lived long enough to experience and learn all the stuff already, and they don't have to like bang into the unnecessary kind of BS like that. So yeah, to them, human life is very short. And our goal here, they say, you should be aiming to live well and remember to die well. Like, you don't want to be dying from pain and like, wow, you keep coughing for 3 nights and then, cramping and then things like that. And then you die. That's very horrible, right? You want to die like, oh, I am going to die tomorrow. Bye-bye. And then you go to sleep and then, well, you're dead, right? That would be nice. So they say, live well, die well, and then come over, and then transition to their world and start a new life right there, right? So that's what we are going after. We don't need to, live 200 years here. It's crazy. And definitely we're not looking at like, oh, we just drink tea and eat rice every day and then we live until like 300 years old and go into the mountain. To them, this is crazy. Like they say, this is totally off. It's like you're living, but you're not like a person anymore. You don't have a life. So that's not good. Okay, so that's not what we teach us. What we teach is like you live a normal person life, be happy, live well, die well, have good health. That's it, right? That's the way to go. You want to live long? Well, when you die and you move, like immigrate to the other world, then you will have a long life for sure because that's basically how it is out there, right? Just make sure you don't get shot by anyone, right? But that's how it is. So we don't talk about living for a long, long time. Now, however, there's another thing. The gods, like those in the celestial court, right? Those that we use for the magic, the power, all that, those god doesn't die. Why? Because they don't die from age as well. They are born from like your heart power, right? As long as your heart is there, the god is there. So as long as the faith is there, they don't die. And a god can only die, like those gods can only die when your faith is gone. Like you don't believe anymore, then your god dies. Not the main god up there, right? It's your god. Your god dies. Okay, so it's based on your heart. When a disciple don't believe anymore, then the faith is gone, their god dies. So when they call for help, there's no more help. So yeah, it's kind of funny because some people think that, oh, you know what, like someone quit or they don't believe anymore and they withdraw from the lineage and I need to do something to like get their power back. No, I don't need to, because when the time, like even I didn't kick you out, the time you stop believing, the power is gone already. You kill your own God, you kill your own power, right? So it's very simple. It's like automatic, You don't believe, all your power is gone. It's so easy. So I don't need to do anything. It's basically how it is, It's automatic. So basically that's it for today. And I know there's some other stuff that I have to talk about, but time is out. So if any one of you have more suggestions, things you want me to talk about, you can put it in the comment section and I will be happy to make another show for you guys. So see you next time. Bye-bye.